Hey, this is Chris Ramsey with the Shake Your Hand Academy, and today we're going to talk about potty training. The stuff we're going to talk about today, real quick, is going to be how to clean up accidents that are in the house, leashing up the dog, keep them inside close to you, watching for their tails, crate training your dog, introducing your dog to your house, when to take your puppy out, when's a good thing to do that, when a good time to do that, what to do when you find an accident in your house later, paying attention to their patterns, maybe even keeping a dog log on that, how much water they should get during the day. I would say most of the accidents sometimes are going to be the pee accidents. We're going to talk about pee pads later. We're going to talk about bells on the door. And we're going to talk about where a good place for them to do their business outside is. Before we get into anything, I have to say that if your dog has a UTI, if your dog has Giardia or some sort of internal bug that's really messing up their system, you're just going to have to be diligent and really give them a ton of opportunities to go out and do their business. You're going to have to be really, really diligent about this. And you should go to your vet. So the meds they have for all those things are extremely helpful and will help your puppy because, they don't enjoy that, and it's not their fault if they have something internally that's messing up their system. This is going to be more for behavior stuff. So first things first, clean up all the accidents that may be inside the house. All of them. Puppies are pre-programmed to go where they've gone before. So if they've gone in one spot and it's not cleaned up, they're more likely to sniff that and go again. That's just pre-programmed. You can't change that. So if we can get that cleaned up and move the scent to the outside, which we'll talk about in a little bit, clean up all that stuff. You have to clean that up. And if you don't know where it is, you're going to have to find it. My favorite cleansers is going to be something with enzymes in it. You could do the initial spray with like a vinegar or household cleaner and get the most of the pee up and get most of the poop up, that kind of stuff. But you're going to want to follow up with something with enzymes in it. So something like this. And does it have enzymes in it? You can read on the back. It either says enzymes or enzymatic blend. That's what you want. You may not see all of the pee in the house, and you're going to need some help with that. So my favorite helper for that is this. This is really, really super cool. This is a black light flashlight. This is what detectives use. This is what you can use. These are available, not typically at pet stores. You have to order this online, but I like the ones with a whole bunch of bulbs in it. So you click it on, it turns a little glowy, and you can find the pee will glow as you search the room. And the light should be out. It should be dark so you can actually see this. But you'll find if your dog's peeing in the same spot and you think you've gotten them all, there's probably one you're missing, and this will help you find that. So take this with you, the lights are off, it's dark, you're gonna go sweep, 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 you find it, squirt, 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 let it sit for 5-10 minutes because that's the directions on the label. You can't just squirt with this and then clean it right up right away. You need to let the enzymes do their job and dissolve all of that stuff that's in there. So for dogs inside, we do this with puppies a ton until they're house trained, we leash them up from the moment they wake up. Leash them up from the crate, out they go to do their business, come back in, leave the leash on and leave it dragging around. And somebody should be the primary, somebody should be in charge of the puppy. How far away should the dog be from you? That leash length is how far away they should be from you. So it's either in your hand or you can easily step on it and get that leash. That's how far away they should be. So if they're close to you, that gives you the opportunity to start picking up their tails because that's what we want, right? There's a couple things we want. We want them to go in the same kind of places outside. Definitely want them going outside. Same kind of places outside. We want them to learn how to hold it. And we want them to learn to come to you wherever you are in the house and come and tell you like, hey, I gotta go. That's for potty training, that's kind of what we want. So to watch for the tails, and the tail could be they're just sniffing around in a certain way in a circle. Sometimes they head off back behind a dining room table or behind a couch. That's a tell. Sometimes they come and they just whine at you. That can be a tell. You're gonna have to pay attention to what your dog is telling you right before they do their business. For older dogs, I would say they typically want to escape. They want to head to the basement. They want to go on the second floor or a room that they don't use, to play or hang out in. Typically older dogs will do that just aren't watched. So you have to be diligent about that for puppies and for dogs. I would say if you have a rescue dog that you're adopting and they're older, I would do the same routine until they're 100% solid on house training. If you currently have a dog and you're moving houses, I would do the same routine. I would leash up the dog and keep him close to you. So you can pick up their tails and give them an opportunity to tell you, hey, I gotta go, and you can take them out and you can start on a nice solid potty routine. When you take the dog out, you can reward them for doing their business, but don't do it right away. And what I mean by that is, if they are sniffing around, don't say go potty, go potty, go potty, go potty. We'll talk about putting a cue on it later. I want you to just be quiet. Have a food pouch on you like I typically do for rewarding the dog. Let them in the squat. They're doing their thing. Great. They pull up out of the squat. Good potty. Do your business. Verbal praise, physical praise, all that kind of stuff. But don't reach inside your food pouch or try to get your number 2 bags while they're doing it. This can be distracting, and they can start to predict, oh, every time I go pee, he reaches for the food. They may stop peeing. And then what happens? You have to wait longer, or you don't pick it up, and you take them inside, and then they have an accident. So be quiet, and don't even, if you can, don't even look at the dog. They're doing their thing, great, they finish, start your reward sequence right after that. I would also say, if you really want to get them solid on the potty training, you're having issues with that, don't reward them for coming back in the house. Not at all. Just reward for doing their business. That's it. If you would flip that and say, well, I'm not going to reward the dog for doing potty, but I am going to reward them for coming in the house, even if you say, you run in the house oh, that was a good potty, they're not going to pick that up. They're going to pick it up as going in the house is what the reward is for. So what happens with that pattern? Well, the dogs, a lot of them figure out they're mid-pee and think, oh, I'm peeing, going in the house treat, and they'll stop midstream. You take them inside and you reward them for coming in the house. It doesn't matter what you say. You can say, oh, that was a good potty. But if they come in the house and you reward them, that's what they're getting rewarded for. So they've only peed halfway, and a couple minutes later, oh, I still got to pee, and they have an accident. This is pretty common for a lot of people, for them to reward the dog for coming in the house, but they don't reward the dog for doing their business. So I would say drop the reward right now for coming in the house. You can work on recall and that kind of stuff later. But if you're having issues with potty training, make the reward heavy on them doing their business. You're also going to want to wait. So if you get a number 1 and then you get a number 2, awesome, good for you. I would still hang out if your dog has potty issues. There may be another number 1 coming. There may be another number 2 coming. So just wait, depending on what your dog is doing, how old they are, and what their patterns are like. I have a client named Lulu, who's about 6 pounds, and the owner was super frustrated because she would take Lulu out, and Lulu would pee, and she would tell her good girl, and then she would bring her back outside, and then every single time she brought her back inside, Lulu was peeing 3 or 4 more times. Every single time. And she was like, I'm super frustrated. She's peeing in the house all the time. So I said, take her outside. You get the first one, great, wait. Get the second one, great. Get the third one, okay, so now we're paying attention. She's usually 3 or 4. You get 4, she's probably done. How do you know she's done? Well, she might be distracted a little bit. So she may pick up a stick, she may pick up a leaf, she may start romping around, she may just lay down on the grass. She's doing something else to tell you that she's kind of done with that. But I would wait 10, 15 minutes every single time right now, because her bladder is the size of a marble, and she's got she does not have a mature bladder. So, and the owner's like, well, what if I don't want to wait 10 minutes? Okay, that's up to you. But you're going to be cleaning up pee every single time, which may take you 20 minutes. And plus, there's a whole bunch of pee in the house. So take the time in the beginning to wait and give them time. Don't force them out do your business, go potty, go potty, go potty, and then go back in. Because nobody likes, humans don't like being in a bathroom somewhere and then somebody's knocking on the door going, hey, you gotta hurry up, do your thing. You're like, hey, I'm doing my business. You need to mind your own business. I got this taken care of. So make it more of a relaxing experience versus a rushed experience. Crate training your dog. Huge fan of crate training. Even if you're not going to use it later and they're going to be older in a dog bed somewhere, awesome. But in the beginning, if you're having issues with potty training, crate can be a great way to start picking up tails. For a puppy, the crate should be just big enough where they can go in and turn around and lay down. That's all it should be. For an adult dog, if they can lay down and their back is touching one side of the crate and their feet are not touching the other side, that's the ideal size for them. So if your crate is too big for the puppy, what will happen is they'll sleep on one side and wake up and go over, do business, and then come back. That means your crate is too big. It should be smaller. Dogs and puppies in general don't like doing their business where they sleep. So when they have to go and there's not enough room, what do? Well, a lot of them will whine or bark or look at you or tilt their head or whatever. That means you can start picking up that tell of when they have to do their business. If the crate's too big, then they won't tell you because there's no reason to. But you want them to be able to tell you, hey, I gotta go out. And that's why I really, really love crate training. Plus, it's very, very portable. If you have Aunt Millie or Uncle Fred watch your dog, what do I do with the dog at night? Just put him in the crate. Well, what if I have to go to the grocery store? Well, just put him in the crate. So whether you free shape the dog to the crate or use any other method, which your trainer is helping you to, is get your dog crate trained. Highly recommend that. It's very, very handy. Even if you don't use it for a couple years and you need to use it later, it's there, it's built into the system, and they know what it is. So I'm a huge fan of things that make it easier for you to watch your dog, your family watch your dog, other people to watch your dog, and crate training is one of those. I use towels for the puppies when I first start out. If our dog's having a problem, I just use cheap towels that I'll just fold up and put in there. The first part is they're easy to clean and they're pretty inexpensive versus having like a pad or a dog bed that fits exactly to the size of the crate. There's lots of dogs that are super fluffy, a ton of the doodles, the Samoyeds, the Huskies, that don't like sleeping on towels or carpet or dog beds because it's too hot. I have a lot of boot campers that come here that are big floofs that they love my concrete floors because it's nice and cool. They will not sleep on the carpet. They won't sleep on a dog bed. So if you have a towel that's just folded up and put in the crates and they're too hot, they can push that to the side. If it's a stiff pad or a dog bed, they can't. And sometimes they're frustrated, like, I can't sleep, it's too hot. And they may shred the bed or shred the pad. So let them tell you what they like and give them the opportunity to push. Like a towel can just be pushed off to the side. How long should they be in the crate during the day? For puppies, we use the general rule of thumb is for every month they are old, that many hours they can be in the crate during the day. And at night, you should be working on them sleeping at night. But during the day, let's say all their needs are taken care of. They've had food, they've had water, exercise, some attention, some play. Great. If you have a 3-month-old puppy, they can spend 3 hours in the crate. That's a general rule of thumb. Your mileage may vary, but that's typically where we start. Some dogs are better at this than others. Introducing your dog to your house. Once again, with puppies, I would have them on a leash in 1 or 2 rooms at a time until they're solid in both those rooms and are not using them for a bathroom before I would go to the next room. Typically, that would be like a living room and a kitchen. You would start with those 2 rooms, and then eventually maybe the dining room, or maybe the living room, or family room, or whatever, however you have set up. But I would not open up the doors and say, welcome to our new house, puppy, do what you want, because there's a really good chance that puppy's gonna sniff around, have a great time, get distracted, and then have an accident. And if you're not there and you don't pick it up, then you're starting this a downward spiral. So 1 room at a time for puppies. I would say also for rescues. 1 room at a time, 1 or 2 rooms at a time, on a leash with supervision, because you don't know the actual history of the dog, and you need to get that dog solid on the house training before you can trust them just to free roam your house. I would say also, if you have a current dog that's really good on house training and you move, I would still take the time to have the dog on a leash 1 or 2 rooms at a time and explore just until they're solid. Now, this can go really, really quickly with older dogs, and some that are really, really solid. But if you're watching a video on potty training, obviously there's an issue with the house training. So 1 or 2 rooms at a time on leash with supervision. How close should that leash be? It should be a 6-foot leash, and either in your hand or close enough where you can take 1 step and you can step on the end of that leash. That's how close it should be. So you can pick up their tails in case, what do they do right before they go? That's a tell for the dog. And if you're not in the room with them or you can't see them, you can't pick them up, and that's what we want. We want them to tell us, hey, I've got to go. So you need to be in the room with them, and you need to be diligent and consistent in the beginning. It'll pay off later. It'll really, really pay off later. If you're a parent and you've potty trained your kids, I don't have to tell you that step between diapers and pull-ups and then pull-ups and big pants. I don't have to tell you that if you're diligent, that goes much quicker. But if you're not, it's it's a little bit of a hassle. So parents out there, you can totally understand. How often should you take the puppy out? Obviously in the morning with the crate, take the puppy out because the puppy's been sleeping. If the puppy's been napping during the day for anything more than like 15 minutes, I would say take the puppy out, give them a chance to go. After they eat food or drink a bunch of water, I would take the puppy out. There's only so much room inside a puppy. There's only so much room. It's an input-output thing. So if you feed your puppy, I would say between 5 and 20 minutes, you should give that dog an opportunity to go out. If you're playing with the puppy and it's tug, 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 and it's squeak, 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 and it's fetch, and it's all this fun stuff, I would break the play right around 20 minutes. Take the dog out, do your thing, and give them opportunity, and then come back, and then play some more, or do something else. You could play for an hour with the puppy, but if you're playing and the puppy's like running around and doing a whole bunch of active stuff, if puppy's moving, there's stuff moving through puppy. So you can play for as long as you want, but I would break play at about 20 minutes at a pop and take them out and give them an opportunity. But I wouldn't play with a puppy 24/7. Puppies need about 18 to 20 hours of sleep a day. And if they don't get the right amount of sleep, they typically make bad decisions. Some of them get cranky. They're more likely to have accidents. So don't feel like, oh, I got a puppy, they're in the house, I got to play with them 24/7, because that would be terrible. They need tons of sleep to rest and to grow and all that kind of stuff. Okay, finding an accident in the house. What happens if you're walking around in your socks and all of a sudden you walk and pee in your squishy socks? Like, oh my gosh, this sucks. First things first, and I'm gonna say this a couple different times. Do not scold the dog if you find an accident in the house. Do not scold the dog if you find an accident in the house. They will not understand why you're upset. Even if you show it to them, if you stick their nose in it, which is horrible, do not scold the puppy. Now, they will understand that you're upset. They'll get that. They just don't know why. And if you've ever had somebody in your life that's always upset with you and you never know why, that person's unstable, right? They will not trust you. So do not scold the puppy. Call it a day, like clean it up, call it a day, pay more attention. And what you want to do is move the scent. So if it's a pee accident, what you'd want to do is, I would initially like paper towel that, take it up, and I would say once a day, if your dog's having problems with potty stuff, once a day for an accident, I would wipe that up, I would stick it in a plastic bag, and I would put some water in it, squish it around, and I would pour it out outside where you want the dog to go. The fresher the scent, the better for their particular potty spots. So if they're having 5 accidents a day, just do 1. If they're having 1 accident a day, I would just do the 1. If it's for, and then, so after you pour that out, come back, squirt, 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 5-10 minutes, or you could do it beforehand. Wipe it up, squirt, 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 take it out, come back, finish your cleanup. Great. If it's a poop accident, I would plastic bag that, scoop that up, take it outside. I would smear it in 2 or 3 places where you want them to go. Throw that out. Come back, finish your cleanup. The fresher the scent, the better. So move the scent. Don't scold the dog. Okay. Pay attention to their patterns. If you want to keep a dog log, great. If you want to have a little notebook that just says, here's when they ate, and we played here, and we took a walk, and like, oh, they had an accident, and then, oh, they had some water, blah, 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 blah. You'll start to figure out a relationship between what times during the day or after what activity they're having a hard time holding it or telling you. But once again, if they're not close to you, you're not paying attention, you won't pick up their tells. So in the beginning, it's going to be a lot of observation. It'd be a lot of observation. Later on, they'll get good at coming and telling you. But in the beginning, you won't know unless you see it, and you need to be able to see it. You can limit their water. So the general rule of thumb for water consumption is 1/2 to 1 ounce of water per pound of dog. If you have a 50-pound dog, it's somewhere between 25 and 50 ounces. That floats back and forth as far as how much activity are they getting, how old they are, is it summertime and is it hot out? So that will fluctuate. But if your dog is 50 pounds and they're drinking 100 ounces of water a day, there's a good chance they're peeing a ton. They're more likely to have accidents. So at the end of the night, if you find that your dog is drinking a whole bunch of water and having accidents at night in the crate, then I would limit that water. I would give them a little bit of water, not a ton, because some dogs do not have impulse control over how much water that they drink. So some do, but other ones don't. We need to help them out with that. Okay, pee pads. I get lots of questions as an owner about pee pads, and I've seen tons of pee pads in houses. And my particular market, I'll say I'm not a fan of pee pads. I'm not. I'll say it right up front. Most of my market is people living in single floor or double floor homes. So none of my clients are living on the 50th floor in an apartment building. So I do not do PPAD training. There's other trainers that do, and if you find one, great. If your dog's PPAD, great, fine. But I do not do PPADs. There's another reason why I don't. But I think it's a ton of training up front that you have to do. You have to be super diligent, and there's all these systems that you do to get them PPAD trained, and I don't think it's very portable as well. So if you take, once again, your dog to Aunt Millie's or Uncle Fred's house and you tell them, hey, my dog's PPAD trained, they still have to do a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of refresher work inside of a new house because it's more difficult for them. And maybe Aunt Millie doesn't like pee and poop in her house, which I agree with her. I don't like that either. So it's not very portable. It's very confining for the dog. And to me, mature-wise, we'll get a why I want them to do it outside. Bells on the door. So in my experience as a trainer, the bells on the door work, I'm going to guess maybe 10% of the time. The dog has figured out, I ring the doorbell, I go out, I do my business, I come back, because that's what a potty bell door should be, right? So if you train your dog to do that, and then so what happens when they go to Aunt Millie's or Uncle Fred's house? What happens? And they don't have a bell. Well, a couple things can happen. One is they look around for the bell. There's no bell. There's no bell. There's no bell. Okay, I'm gonna hold it because the bell's got to be here somewhere. And then they have an accident. They may figure out that maybe they hit the bell with their nose, or maybe they scratch it with a paw. So if there's no bells on the door, what do? Maybe they nose the door and then they start scratching the door. I have physical evidence of this in my house where boot campers come to me that have been bell trained that I don't have a bell. So I have scratches on my door frames and on my drywall for dogs that have scratch, because that's how they've always told their owner how they have to go. And what happens if you have the bell in your house and you're downstairs doing laundry, like our laundry's in the basement, or I'm up on the 3rd floor, and I don't hear the bell. So I would rather have them come and get you, no matter where you are in the house, and say, hey, I've got to go. Okay, great, let's get you out. So the bells aren't very portable, and a ton of times they're not exactly a potty bell. They're just like open up the doorbell. One of my dogs, Tucker, smart boy, he loves to go and ring the bell, and then somebody gets up and lets him out, and he turns right around and he barks on the porch, and then they let him back in again. And he does this all day. Ring the bell, go out, bark, come back, and they just do it all day. He doesn't have accidents in the house. He just loves playing the go out the door game, because to him, the bell just means open up the door, somebody comes to interact with me a little bit. Also, Tucker, at the end of the night, when the family is settling down and they're watching TV on the couches and that kind of stuff, Tucker will get up, go and ring the bell, and then whatever the human gets up and goes over to let him out, he runs back and sits right where they were on the couch. So he's definitely figured out that what the bell does, and it's not a potty bell, it's just kind of like a fun activity bell for him. So I'm not a fan of the bells. They're not very portable, and I want the dog to come to you and tell you that they have to go. So that's bells on the door. Oh, so my favorite place to have the dogs do their business would be on the tree lawn, that little grassy area in between the sidewalk and the street. That's my favorite place. If you don't have sidewalks, I would say closer to the street, farther away from the house is great. One, it gets pee and poop away from your house, which I'm a big fan of. It doesn't trash your lawn, and in the beginning, the puppies will go where they've gone. As they mature and get older and start to meet other dogs, like, oh, you smell interesting. Sniff, 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 sniff. They sniff the dogs. That becomes part of their communication and part of their social routine. So as they get older, they're more likely to go where they've gone, plus where other dogs have gone. So other dogs typically don't go in your backyard. Typically they're going close to the curb, close to the sidewalk. People don't typically play in the sidewalk, in the tree lawn. They typically don't play there. So if your dog poops and you plastic bag it up, there's still residue, right? So my backyard is super clean, and I consider this another room of the house that's just outside. So when my friends and family come over and my little nieces and nephews come over and they're crawling around on the grass and we're having a picnic or playing whatever, I don't have to worry about anybody stepping in dog poop or crawling through dog pee. If you take them out to the tree lawn again and again and again, it makes it also easier for people to watch your dog. It's very, very portable. Uncle Fred, okay, watch my dog. Well, where does the dog go to the bathroom? Oh, just take her out for a walk. Really? Sure. On the tree lawn, she'll go in the park or whatever. So it makes it super easy for other people to watch your dog. I have a couple friends that have what I call backyard poopers. They only do that in their backyard. And when they're not close to the backyard, they hold it. And it can be very, very stressful on the dog and whoever's watching the dog. And one owner has a dog like that. Another friend of mine watching the dog had to drive back to the house every single day between 2 and 5 times so the dog could do its business in the backyard. So that's stressful on the person who's watching the dog. Plus, it's not very mature for that dog because they typically smell something and then drop their scent. It's kind of like Facebook, right? Somebody sniff, and they drop a comment. Oh, you dropped a comment? Okay, I'm going to drop a comment. So that's more natural and mature for dogs to be able to do that. So make it easy for them, for anybody else watching your dog. Like potty training is just a big thing. It's if you make it easy for the dog sleeping at night and the dog's potty trained, all the other behavioral stuff is much easier to deal with. If you want to put a cue on the dog doing their business, the best way to do that is to capture the behavior in the beginning. Best way to do that. So they go into the squats, they pull out, do your business. That's a good dog. When you start get that routine and you do it a couple hundred times, then you start to predict right before they're going to do it. So right before they're sniff, and they're just going to go into that little squat position, do your business. So they start doing that. So what I don't want you to do is, if they're just sniffing around, and say, go potty, because that cue just gets attached to them sniffing around, and that's not productive. So you would want to attach the cue to the time where they're actually doing the business. When you do that over and over again, eventually what you can do is you can come out and you can say, do your business, and the dog will go. But that will take some time, and not all dogs are good at it, so I wouldn't expect that, but I would not try and pressure your dog thinking you're trying to put a cue on top of it. I wouldn't do that. So just to recap, clean all the accidents up with the Nature's Miracle, with the black light flashlight, get all that done first. Leash up the dog inside, have them close to you until they're solid, whether it's a puppy or rescue or your current dog and you've just moved. Watch for their tells. You want them to be able to tell you when they have to go. Right before they do their business, they're going to do something that's going to indicate that they have to go. Crate train your dog. Huge fan of that. Introduce your dog to 1 or 2 rooms at a time. Take the puppy out, after eating, after water, mid-play, do all that kind of stuff after they're sleeping. Find the accident, move the scent. Once again, do not scold your dog. Please don't scold your dog. Pay attention to their poop patterns, their pee patterns. If you want to keep a log, that's great. We talked about the water consumption, about how much they should be drinking. Pee pads, bells on the door, that's up to you. Not a huge fan. And then, so on the tree lawn is the best way to go. Out in the neighborhood, that's the best thing. It makes it easier for everybody and it's more natural for the dogs. So I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.